Drift Guitars. I'm Chris. Behind the camera is Matt, as always, and it's another episode of the 3,000-year-old guitar for you guys. In the last episode, if you'll remember, we cut out the neck on my CNC machine, the neck blank, and I need to do the carbon fiber inserts in it still. I haven't done that, but that's okay. We'll do that off camera. But today, we're actually going to do the fretboard. We're going to make the fretboard for this guitar. And originally, what I was going to do is just cut it out on the CNC machine, because that's how I do fretboards these days. But I know that most people at home don't have CNC, so I dusted off the old tools, and we're going to cut this by hand, so that you guys at home have a better chance of being able to follow along. Some of the tools that we're going to be using in this one, the big one, the enchilada here, is going to be the SurfPrep fret slotting jig.
Oh, nice.
Just a super, exactly. Just a really cool jig that I bought years and years ago. In fact, if you were to buy one today, they look a little bit different, and they're actually better. There's been improvements on these things, so really great tool. I'm going to be using the fret slotting saw, the Japanese pull saw that they make, which is really great. It is the big thing about this saw versus a lot of the other Japanese pull saws you might find on the market is this one actually is curved at 0.023 inches, which is the exact width of the tang on a fret. So that's important. You got to make sure you have the right fret saw. And then the other thing we're going to use is their fret slotting templates that they make. These three things combined will give you at home, if you are not automated with CNC like we are here, the ability to do really quick and accurate fret slotting. The other way to do it is if you had these fret slotting templates, as well as the fret slotting blade that they make that StewMac sells. A couple other companies sell it as well, but it's a blade that goes inside your table saw that is at that right curve too, that 0.023 inches. And then you can do the same thing that we're doing here with a table saw for about the same amount of money. We are going to have links to all of these products inside of the description below, so check those out. And we are an affiliate of StewMac, so any bit that you guys buy using those links gives us a little bit of kickback, and we appreciate that. Okay, the really cool thing about this fret slotting jig, what I absolutely love about it, is basically it's just kind of like a modified miter box, if you've ever used a miter box for general woodworking, in the sense that it actually locks in your wood at a perfect 90-degree angle from where the saw is going to go. This saw goes inside of here. We'll have Matt get a little bit closer. Oh boy, I got to adjust all the settings on this thing. There we go. The saw goes in here, and it keeps it at a perfect 90-degree angle. The other cool thing about this is it's got these ball bearing guides on it, and I can adjust these screws here and raise or lower the ball bearings, and so I can actually adjust the depth of my cut by raising or lowering those. So and it also has these holes inside of it, so what I can do with those is actually screw it down to my workbench, which is really nice. The other thing that this jig does, and basically how it works, is I don't know if Matt can get in there, is there's this little bitty tang right here. Basically, the way that this tang works is it locks into all of these little notches along here, and we're going to glue the fretboard down onto this jig, and then I'll show you kind of how this works. It goes in, you cut your slot, you move it to the next slot, you cut your next slot. So it's super good. Like, there's no play in this whatsoever.
So even I can do that.
So even Matt Miller could do this. I'm not a very smart man. But with that, I'm going to screw it down. But while I'm screwing this down, I do want to mention to you guys, make sure you subscribe if you enjoy this channel. A lot of people are just watching and enjoying it without even realizing they're not subscribers. So hit that button below, hit the bell so that you can be notified and all that good stuff. And
it takes you 2 seconds, but it really helps us.
That's right.
It's a nice thing. Thanks, guys.
But we're going to screw this thing down. I guess I should mention this. What we're going to be making this fretboard out of is this really nice piece of Macassar ebony. It's about a 1/4 inch thick, which is what I do all my fretboards at. This is just actually slightly under. It's like 0.23 inches thick. But what we're going to do is get it glued onto this. This is to me the most secure and best way to do this. This particular fret slotting indexing jig that we're using has 2 different scale lengths on it. One of them is Martin's, let me see, hang on. It's hard to see in this lighting. Yes, one of them is the short scale length, which is 24.9 inches, which I typically do for my 12 fret guitars. I usually use a shorter scale length on those ones. And then Martin's standard 25.34, which is also referred to as 25.4 in the industry. I don't know why you can't just, that's not even proper rounding. So the way that this works though is because we have one side that's set for a different scale length than the other, and all of the templates are that way, so it's kind of a twofer, is that you need to make sure when you actually attach your fretboard blank onto it that you're actually indexing it against the correct side. The side that you're going to be cutting this to. This particular guitar is a 14 fret, going to be that 25.4 inches. So what we're going to do is the double-sided tape technique. I do want to say before you do this, you do need to go ahead and have your fretboard properly dimensioned. Get it down to what it's going to be its final thickness. You can even radius it if you want. This fretboard is not radiused yet. It's totally flat on both sides. And so yeah, what we need to do is grab some masking tape and we're gonna glue this bad boy down to the correct scale length size. So let me grab some tape real fast. Okay, got the tape. Just a refresher once again on the double-sided tape technique that we use. Have we done, like, really talked about the double-sided tape technique on this channel? I don't know that we have.
God, I don't think so, dude.
If you haven't, you're missing out. So
it's the gospel according to double-sided tape.
This is the best thing I ever learned in woodworking. I use it for everything. I even use it for like hanging stuff on walls because it's just so awesome. So all you're gonna do is take standard.
Yeah. It's what Big 3M doesn't want you to know.
That's right, exactly. You're gonna take your tape, and this applies to literally anything, not just this fretboard stuff. But take a piece of masking tape, set it down on top of whatever you're trying to adhere something to. This is good for temporarily adhering things to hold them in place. This piece of Macasser's got this little pit inside of it, so we're gonna make sure that we get that kind of, I'm gonna do this on top and on the outside so that it'll be cut off. What we're gonna do is we're gonna put another piece of masking tape down on the fretboard. Okay, so we're gonna put the tape down on this side. Let me get some super glue. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some super glue on it. Doesn't take much. I usually tend to put the accelerant on the other piece. This thing's almost empty, so. Then we're gonna set this on top of it, making sure that I get it butted up against the edge perfectly. Oh no, I think I just screwed up. This whole thing might need to be redone, Matt. Hang on. We're gonna find out. Oh no, we're gonna be good. Sweet.
Carry on as you were.
That'll stay on camera.
Yeah.
So one thing I forgot to do is make sure that I glued the fretboard on to the left or to the right in the correct spot, and I happened to just accidentally get it in the right spot. But so now
better be lucky than good any day. Right?
So now what we've got is a fretboard that's attached to this, like, it ain't going anywhere, and it's going to very easily come off because it's just the strength of masking tape. It's just this masking tape technique is the bee's knees. We probably use a roll of masking tape per month, just double-sided taping things down, and it's way cheaper than double-sided tape. So the reason why it was very important that I had my fretboard flush against the side here is because that's what this whole thing indexes against to keep it at a 90-degree angle as we go in here. So now you can see what we're gonna do is we can slide this in, and that first slot right there is gonna cut smack dab right at the end of the fretboard, which is just freaking killer, right? This first one is actually not a fret slot. This first one is the end of your fretboard. It's actually where the nut's gonna go. So you just gotta make sure that you have the fretboard in a spot that you're actually gonna be able to cut all the slots. So we can come all the way down here. Yeah, and the last fret slot is right there. So we're perfect. This is gonna be great. It's gonna work great. It's fine. It's fine. Okay, I have not adjusted anything on this since the last time I used it, so I know it's gonna be really good. But you're going to want to then, at this point, if you've got a brand new one of these jigs, you're gonna wanna make sure that you adjust it so that it holds the blade very tightly, so there's not any wiggle room to the left or to the right. And then you're gonna wanna make sure you set the depth of it so that it cuts to the depth that you want. You know, you don't wanna cut all the way through the fretboard. You wanna cut, we're gonna bind this fretboard so I can go a little bit deeper, but if you're doing an unbound fretboard, you wanna get that fret slot cut just a kiss deeper than the actual depth of the tang on a fret. But so what we are going to do is I'm gonna grab a little scrap piece of metal, because this is the OG version of this and I have to put a piece of metal inside of it to keep from moving around. but StuMac has solved that on the new models. Let me go grab that real quick. Okay, so what I actually use is just 2 little razor blades, and the reason why I'm doing that is because on these older models of this saw, there's like a lashing. The width of the jig is just a little bit narrower than the width of the miter box. So in order to alleviate that, all I do is just stick a little razor blade, and see, we're fixed now. So no big deal. Like I said, the newer models of this miter box, it's all solved. They actually have even screw hold downs on it, which is really killer. So I've checked everything, we're good to go. The only thing I would recommend, that I just don't have any, is to just make this a little bit easier, is you can get saw blade lubricant, like an aerosol version, and then spray this blade down. It just makes this a lot easier sometimes. All right, so let's give her hell. Let's see what happens. And you can see how I've got this box, like nothing's moving in here. Everything's good to go. So we're gonna get this lower. And that's it. Bada bing. God, I might need to make a small adjustment. Yeah, we're gonna need to make a small adjustment on that. What's happening is these are too pulled in this way, and it's really it's pinching the saw blade. Yeah, so I'm gonna need to make a quick adjustment on this just to make it so that it's not pinching the blade as hard. A nice way to do this is to put the saw blade in it, and then make the adjustment so that it's
really actually accurate.
Yeah, words. Adjustments made. First slot cut. Let's see if it feels better. Yeah. Okay. Cool. The nice thing is it's pretty much foolproof. I can't imagine a way you can mess this up, but I'm sure I can come up with something.
Yeah. Give us time.
So that's our first slot cut. Perfect, right? Looking good. Like it should.
Yeah.
That's, like I said, this isn't the first fret slot. This is the nut. This is the beginning of what will be the beginning of the fretboard. So now we've cut that one right there. Just move to the next one. Click. I put my razor blade back in here, and this should cut better now. Yeah, that's way better. And that's it. Then you just cut until this rib on the top of the saw hits the tops of these bearings, and that's the correct depth. And then you move on to the next one.
Rinse, lather, and repeat, huh?
That's right, man. And it's like, considering you're doing it all by hand, I can do this whole thing in like 3 minutes, which is killer.
Yeah.
Yes, all in for like the miter box, the saw, and one of these jigs, you're about $300. But as anybody who's built a guitar before knows, getting your fret slots perfect is everything. You can build the best guitar in the world, but if your fret slots aren't perfect, then you're gonna have intonation issues and tuning issues. So like, to me, this is a really important thing to get right, and well worth the $300. Exhausted. That was probably about 2 or 3 minutes there, but it's done. And I was telling Matt while we were slow mowing that actually is quicker than you would cut those slots on a CNC machine, because it's such a narrow slot. You have to use a really slow speed on the machine, but it's still not quite as accurate as a CNC machine would be. But I'm getting exhausted. So let's pull this off of here real quick. This is where you'll see the magic of the double-sided tape. And there it is. What we now have is a fully cut fretboard that's ready to go. And that just, back in the day when I first started doing guitar building, I used to have to use calipers, and I would lay out my fret slots with a caliper, which is just fraught with, ability to mess up. And then you would very carefully get your saw in there and try to hold your tongue just right and cut it. This jig makes fast work of it. It's super easy. And with that, we have a fretboard that is now ready for its final shaping into the shape of the neck. And then because we're gonna bind this, we actually need to do that as well. But that's for the next episode. We hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we will bind this fretboard on the next one. So we'll see y'all then.